Okay, Shalom Aleichem, everybody. Excited to start a new Inyan, and I'll just make a confession. This is the first time I've ever taught this, so I'm very excited to learn this and learn it with you. We'll start with the sugya in Daf Zayin Amud Aleph. I just lost everybody.
We're here.
I lost you somehow. I'm not sure how. Totally lost everybody. I'm not sure what I did, but I lost everyone.
We still see and hear you, Ron. We can see and hear you.
Yeah?
Are we back?
So let me see if I can see and hear you somehow. Oh, got you back. Okay. I don't want to talk to the wall. Okay. Okay, the sugya Daf Zayin Amud Aleph in Ksubis. Amar Rabbi Chelbo, Amar Rav Huna, Amar Rav Abba, Amar Zuda, Amar Rav, Achas Besula, Vachas Almana, Tuna Bracha. Whether you're married a Besula or an Almana, she needs a bracha. Now this sugya is talking about Birchas Besuin, Birchas Chasanim we call it. There's not the sugya of Birchas Erison. This is the sugya of Birchas Chasanim. We'll get to Birchas Erison as well. But they both need a bracha. They both need Birchas Chasanim, which we'll call Sheva brachas. Mi Amar Rav Huna Hachi, V'Amar Rav Huna Almana Ina Tuna bracha. It does not need a bracha. Lo kasha, Kam b'Bachar Shenasa Almana, Kam b'Alman Shenasa Almana. So whether she needs a bracha or not depends on a few levels over here. Whether we have all these different possibilities. So that he said that she doesn't need a bracha, that's Alman Shenasa Almana. Ba'alman Shenasa Almana loy shouldn't need a bracha. Ba'amar of Nachman. We'll speak in a minute. Just read through the Gemara first, and then we'll see like what exactly is the shakla tar. What's the havamina? What I think that marrying an almana is less of a marriage than marrying Ebsula. So if we have a mitzvah. If you, I don't know if you did. There's some chisaron in this mitzvah that it should need a bracha. Like if you're varach on a mitzvah, as long as you're doing a mitzvah, so why would you have a havamina? You wouldn't make a bracha. We have to say so. At this point, the Gemara's Pashtus is saying that Alman Shenas Almana doesn't need Shabbat brachas at all. Alman Shenas Almana loy v'amar Nachman Amar Lehuna or Nasan Tanam Menayin the brachas Chasanim Ba'asara Shenemar B'Ikach Asara Anoshim Ziknei Ha'ir V'Yamar Shvu Poi V'Yashvu Boaz. We're talking about Boaz marrying Rus, and there it says Boaz Alman Shenas Almana Hava, because Rus was considered an almana. That's a whole discussion on its own right. That how was she an almana if she was only a Megayer later on, so she's never really married if she was not Jewish before. So then what makes her an almana? That's a discussion for. There's really this is not our sugya right now, but it's just a side point. For Lamaisa, there's a lot of discussion whether she really actually did convert, and she really was married, because Machlon and Killian would not have married fixes. But if they did convert, so then how do we learn Hilchos Geras from Rus later on? Gemara Yevamos learns a lot of Hilchos Geras from things that Nomi said to Rus later on when she came, after her husband died, when she came along with her. So that's not for now. It's a discussion. Maybe one day we'll learn Hilchos Geras. We'll talk about that. That'll be very good Shmaka Sugya. So anyway, so what Gemara is taking on right now is assuming that she was married, she was Jewish, and she was married, and she's now an almana. So, and over there they made Sheva brachas because he said get 10 together, and the reason he got 10 at that point was to say Sheva brachas. So when it says my enetuna bracha, dam Rav Huna enetuna bracha kol shiva. That's Rav Huna said she doesn't need a bracha means kol shiva. Aval yom echad tuna bracha. For sure, one day she needs a bracha. We'll discuss in a few minutes, what does Yom Echad really mean. So Chazal say that Rashi says it's 3 days. And there's the Simcha, we call Simcha over here is 3 days, means that she has to Sameach Ima Gimel Yom means he doesn't go to work. He has to stay with her and spend these days with her. So we're saying this halacha in 3 days. Amai, Iba Bachar, Amar Shiva, Iba Aman Amar Yam Echad. So who are we talking about? Iba saying about Aman Yam Echad, the bracha of the Shlosha Simcha. One possibility is that an Alman to Almana is Yom Echad the bracha. But even so, Shaktu Chachamim, that this Almana deserves at least 3 days of Simcha, that he should be with her, Misameach her, not even without brachas, but at least to be Misameach her for 3 days. The boy saying about Bachar Shiva the bracha, but Shalosh Simcha. Maybe it's a Bachar that marries an Almana. And by him also, even though there's Sheva brachas mitzad, he's a Bachar, so you need Sheva brachas, but there's only 3 days of Simcha. He only has to be off of work for 3 days. I mean, Sameach her to be with her all day for 3 days because she is an Almana. She doesn't need a whole 7 days of that. We'll just finish to the end of the 2 dots. Meisvei mevarchan the basula shiva al Almana yam echad. It says beferish that the Brisa says that you're mevarch to basula shiva and Almana yam echad. My law will feel Almana shenitzas the Bachar. It says it's stam by an Almana. It doesn't specify who it's for. As Masha, even for a Bachar. And we just said that a Bachar is going to be Sheva brachas no matter what. Lo, Alman. It's only Yom Echad means Alman. That's like Rahuna said, I will a Bachar, my Shiva. You need Taka Sheva brachas all 7 days. Yachir listening Bevarchan the Basula Shiva Alman and Shenitzes the Bachar Shiva Alman Yom Echad. Milsip Siklik Tani. So we're not going to say, it's not going to go through every possible case. It's just saying a Milsip Siklik. It's saying a minimum shear. The leka basula the basar b'shiva, but leka almana the basar yom. Since there's no basula less than 7, there's no almana less than yom echad. But there are times that almana could also be shiva if it's a bachar. Adkan, and then the Gemara goes into afterwards. How do we know 10? So going back to a few points. So the first shaila is in the sugya is what exactly is a shakla tari? What's a shaila of the Gemara? Like we asked before, what would be the havamina to say that there's something so chaser in the Nisuin of an Almana that I would have a havamina that she shouldn't need a bracha at all. And not to say a chiddush, no. She talking needs a bracha, but it's Yom Echad. How could you even have a havamina that it shouldn't be? What's the whole shiloh here in the Gemara? And what's this back and forth and all this chilukim between who you're marrying and everything? So it's Mashana the bracha. What's the Soda of the Shakal? So the Ran, and a number of other Rishonim as well, but the Ran here on the spot, brought in Marmakomos, he says the Yisod Gadol that we're going to be using throughout the Sugya is that the Yisod of Birchas Chasanin is the bracha is going not on the mitzvah of the Nisuin, because that might be the Birchas Eresin. That we'll see when we discuss later on Birchas Eresin. But these brachas we're talking about in this Sugya of Birchas Chasanin, the lesson around is Machmas Simchas Liboy Shal Chasan Nitkanu. That the kind of these brachas is based on Simchas Libo Shal Chasan. It's going on his Simchas Alev. So, the Mela we understand the Shachar Tari over here really in this Gemara is to what level you have Simchas Alev. And Chazal had to be Mishayar, different dargas of Simchas Alev. Oh, someone's in the waiting room. 1 second. How do we get in here? Oh, wow. There's a few people. Thank you for that. There's 3 people. Okay. My apologies, whoever just joined, because since I'm giving the share, I'm not noticing who's jumping in. We have to somehow cancel this waiting room. Some people shouldn't be sitting and waiting. Okay, again, so for those who just came in, so we're speaking out the Shakla Tari of the Gemara. What is the Havamina that we should not have a bracha at all by Alman v'Almana? How could you have such a Havamina? And what's the B'chal between these all these different dargas of Alman, Lamana, Alman le B'sula, B'sula le Alman, Bachar le B'sula. These are different dargas of Simcha, because the Ran says that these brachas of Birchas Chasanim machmas simchas libo shel chasa nitkanu. it's a dekana based on Simchas Liba Shel Chasan. So Chazal had to be Mishayr how much Simchas Leiv there is to continue to be able to say Shabbat Brachos. We'll see later on that there are other ingredients in what's causing Simchas Leiv, such as having Panim Chadashos. We'll talk about that later on when we get to the Sugya Panim Chadashos. But there are different things that contribute to the Simchas Leiv that, let's say, that could be one example of one of the things it takes to keep the Simchas Leiv intact over the whole 7 days. That you keep on saying Shabbat Brachos as long as you have Panim Chadashos there. We'll talk about how that works later on, Mr. Shem. Not in this year. But these are different dugmayos, examples of factors you need to have Simchas Leiv Shel Chasan. That might be in Nakuda also as far as the Suda, that we don't just stop say Shabbat Brachos and typical together. You need a Suda. So we'll talk about that also in a little bit. That what part does the Suda play in this whole question? But the Soda Davar, the Shaklatari of the Suga is based on this Nakuda of the Ran, that Machmas Simchas Liba Shel Chasan Nitkanu, and Chazal, like they often do, they're going to be Mishayr. That it's given to them to shots up to Mishayr, to be Koveya, to what extent there is Simchas Liba based on the nature of the Chasana and who it is who's getting married. Because like if it's an Alman of Almana, of course there's Simchas Leiv at the Chasana itself, and I would certainly hope, and there should be certainly Simcha after that as well. But with the level of Simcha that Chazal or Mishar that you need to make a bracha on this Simcha, that's a whole different story. Doesn't mean that there's not Simcha, but there's a certain darga Simcha that Chazal or Mishar you need in order to be Mechayev, to make these brachas, and to make a bracha on that Simcha. So there might be Simcha, but they're not sufficient Simcha to be Mechayev a bracha. So that's what Chazal Baruch Abdaitam had to come in and say, to be Kabeah this. Now we have 3 different times that we make these brachas, of these Shabbat brachas. We have at the chuppah itself, we make it at the Suda of the Chasana, and we make it Kol Shiva. We make Shabbat brachas all 7 days. And this to kind of all 7 days, the chuppah itself, it's on the chuppah without a Suda. Then you have the Sudas Chasana, which that in any case, you're always going to make Shabbat brachos. We'll see there might be exceptions to that, certain shilos in that. And the Takana B'Shas Suda, Kol Shiva, we have to understand to what extent it's tali in the Suda. The Shabbat brachos are tali in the Suda. Is it a din in the Suda, or just being part of that Suda, or is it a din in the Shabbat brachos? I'm sorry, din in Birchas HaMazon. That it's a chelik of Birchas HaMazon, that you're mosif on the Birchas HaMazon, these Shabbat brachos. That just like, let's say in Birchas HaMazon, there are many things that we're moda on, even though they have nothing to do with the Suda per se. We have to say Yetzias Mitzrayim and Birchas. We have Al Aretz Al HaMazon. We have to mention Yetzias Mitzrayim, and also Kol Mi Shalomar Bris V'Torah Lo Yaseh Rekavasai. So you have to say Al Brischa Shasam Tasreinu Al Tarascha Satalanu. All these things are chelik of Birchas HaMazon. There's a lot of different things we're moda for. So one could say that possibly the Shabbat brachas, it's a Tekanas Chazal, it's a chelik of Birchas HaMazon, that when Birchas HaMazon is said b'shas Suda of a Chasan and Kala, b'shas Simcha, then they're mosif these brachas on Birchas HaMazon to say also the Shabbat brachas. So is it a din in the general shot, and to be there as part of the Suda? The Suda is more a certain level of Simcha, and therefore anybody that's there as part of that Simcha can make Shabbat brachas, or is it a chelik of Birchas HaMazon? So the second side would be sort of similar to what we find. There's a Shittas Agra and many other poskim that hold that if you eat the Suda by somebody, so you have Birchas HaReach, the Shittas Agra, the Aruch HaShulchan, and some others, that Birchas HaReach is considered a chelik of Bracha Revis. The Chazal that we're saking the Bracha Revis, that Tova Meitiv, a chelik of that bracha when you're in a reach is Birchas HaReach, and it's mamish something to that bracha. That's a chelik of it. Some poskim even hold that you don't say Amen to the Lolamai Chasreinu until after the Birchas HaReach, It's because that he has to say that he lifts the cup of wine. It says there's a reach, and then you say the amen going on that whole bracha. It's almost a chelik of the brachas hamazon, a chelik of that bracha. So whether we go that far or not, that's a chelik of any particular bracha, because for sure it's not a chelik of the bracha revis, the sheva brachas, but we find other things that are also chazal were moisif to brachas hamazon, like brachas hareach, or some poskim. So perhaps huadin, the sheva brachas are a chelik of brachas hamazon. So there's common nafkaminas in the Shiloh. It was you do have a shame the Brisker Rav. The Brisker Rav was medayik from Lashon Rambam in Perik Beis. Someone's trying to get in. Okay. Okay. Again, my apologies to anybody that was not let in right away. We'll have to find a way to cancel this waiting room so people just come in. So it's well known. It's you do b'shem the Brisker Rav. The Brisker Rav is medayik. The Rambam in Perik Beis of Hilchos Brachos is where he mentions the Sheva Brachos, and so the Rambam was over there talking about different halachas of Brachos Hamazon, and then there he says in halacha Yud, Perik Beis halacha Yud Hilchos Brachos, the Rambam says bracha zu shemosifin bebeis chasanim. Here's a bracha that they're mosif in the base. Mosif means they're mosif to the halacha is talking about. They're mosif to, he mentions over there Yalav Yevo and different Haskaras and Chanukah and Purim, and he says bracha zu, bracha sa'elu, bracha zu mosifin bebeis chasanim, and he goes and lists the Sheva brachas there, brachas chasanim. So the Brisker Rav was medayik from Lashon Rambam that it's a hasafa to brachas hamazon, and it's a din in brachas hamazon. For that reason, in Brisk there were, and it's other gedolim as well, but in Brisk they're makpid that only somebody who actually benches, somebody who ate bread, ate pas, and was a part of the Sheva brachas, and was part of the Suda, could say Sheva brachas, because they hold it's a din in brachas hamazon. So only someone who said brachas hamazon could say Sheva brachas. We know there's a minig olam, very many places. Somebody who comes in, you need a tenth. You're missing. You have 9 people. You have a tenth. You have somebody come in and he eats some azonos, and he joins, and often you give that person a bracha for Sheva brachas. So whether you can give him that bracha or not is totally in this shaila. There's a ma'isa. Shlomo Zalman said over a ma'isa that he came into a Sheva brachas together with the Chibiner Rav back in the day in Yerushalayim, and the two of them had some azonos. So then they wanted them both to say a bracha Sheva brachas. So the Chibiner said to Shlomo Zalman that my Rebbe was a Meir Arik, and I was with him at a Sheva brachas, and I saw he would not make a bracha unless he was benching. So I can't make a bracha, but you don't have. He's not your Rebbe, so you can make a bracha. So there's definitely two minhagim on this, based on this chakira. But some posts can say that it is, if it's possible, or if you have enough people to go around, it's definitely preferable to be yotzei kol adeyas, because according to the Brisker Rav, the way he's learning in the Rambam, others actually learn the opposite in the Rambam, redact the opposite. But the way the Brisker Rav is learning the Rambam, so if somebody would say a bracha Sheva brachas without benching, it will be a bracha levatala. And the other side of the chakira that it's perfectly fine, has nothing to do with it, as long as you're just there with Shas Simcha. So they say it's preferable to find people that let people make brachas that actually did eat in the Suda and are actually benching, if it's possible. You're not going to slight somebody, whatever. You're going to insult somebody really badly, whatever.
Is there a chumrah from the other side? Like the side that holds that it's just Shas Simcha. Is there like a chumrah that comes out for that side? Nafkamina?
I can't think of something on the spot. Let's see. What would be if it's not in? I can't think of anything on the spot. On the other side, sounds like a total kula. It's spoken. By the way, a lot of what we're going to be talking about during these shiurim is going to be with the help of a sefer called Brachas Chasanim from Nissim Kaplan. It's a beautiful sefer, Brachas Chasanim. He spoke that all the lemdas, all the Geshmach lemdas throughout every possible tzad, every possible shaila in Bechus Sasanim, he speaks about. And okay, so one nafkamina that he actually says in this would be that you shouldn't speak between the benching and the Sheva brachos. You shouldn't stop and have little side conversations until after the Sheva brachos, because if their Sheva brachos are din and brachos mazon, then it shouldn't be masik. Go right to it. And even though besides that, there's another halacha of ein masichan ala kos. Since it's going to be a kos on brachos mazon, and the mavarach, the one who led the benching, didn't make the bracha of brachos gafen yet. So all those that are part of the benching, that kos is shaykh to them. And Mishnah Berurah, the halacha ein masichan ala kos refers not only to the one who's benching, but also those that are being yotzei with him, that they're going to hear that brachos gafen. So Stam shouldn't be speaking until after the brachos gafen shmuzing. But besides that, it's even more chamor if you hold that this is a din in benching, and it's a chelik of brachos hamazon to say Sheva brachos, then you shouldn't not be having side conversations until after Sheva brachos. So we think just the Chassan Kalish shouldn't speak. Really, everybody shouldn't be speaking during this time. There's actually another tremendous nafkamina. Maybe is what you're asking a little bit, but this would be also enough communal lakula, not lakomer betzim. A lot of times it happens that you have a chasana, let's say on Sunday before Shkia. So the final Sheva brachos is going to be Shal Shidduchos. And if you didn't start so early, you started close to Shkia, so you're going to end up having Sheva brachos after the Suda is going to finish after Shkia, which then is a problem because the Huliyama, you can only make Sheva, even at Kama that it's a chelik of the Brachos Hamazon, you don't go after where the Suda started. It has to be still with Shas Simcha. And once it's past Shkia of the seventh day, it's no longer considered Shas Simcha. So Sheva brachos can't be said anymore. So a lot of different things are done. People try to do different things to get away with that. So, I mean, sometimes people just eat quickly and bench and say Sheva brachos, and then the Divrei Torah, the singing, everything comes afterwards. That's probably the most glot thing to do. That's the best thing to do if you want to make Sheva brachos at that time. But there's a shaila, and there was an Haga, one time a Chacham did this, and then became a whole discussion by Pesach Frank, by others, that can you make the Sheva brachos in the middle of the Suda? You see Shkia's coming in the middle of Shal Shidduchos. It's going to be a whole tircha to start benching and everything like that. Right now, you have still a part of the Suda to come. You wash the head, you have a whole Suda still coming. You want to continue with the Suda, but you also want to say Sheva brachos. It's going to be a problem after Shkia. Can you say Sheva brachos in the middle of the Suda? It's at the Shas Suda, but on one hand, it's during the Suda. It's Shas Simcha, but Mitzad Sheni, you're not benching. So that's totally in this Chakira, whether you could do this or not. If it's a din in the Suda, then you could do it. No reason not to. And this Talmud Chacham did that, and that sparked this whole discussion. Yerushalayim went back and forth, and it's brought down. There's different shmuas from Rosh Zalman, because if you hold that I'm just taking a step back, if you hold it's a din in benching, to say Sheva brachos in the middle of the Suda would be a bracha l'vatala mamish, because it has to be a chelik of benching. So
could Rebbe explain the difference between like this past Shabbos, for instance, when it was, or any Shabbos when you finish benching after Shkia by Shal Shidduchos? What's the difference by a Sheva brachos, especially if we're saying that it's totally in the benching? So just like all other benchings, many times after Shkia, you're still saying it goes based on when you started the Suda. So why would it be different dafka by Sheva brachos?
So the difference is a good question. The difference is that we're kaveya the benching based on the Tchila Suda, because the benching is a chelik of the Suda no matter what. So we still, we're knowing still to say, let's say Ritzei on Motzei Shabbos, even though it's an hour after Shkia, still Ritzei, because the Tchila Suda was that, so it's still considered, it has a din of a Suda Shabbos. So the start of the Shabbos is considered a Suda Shabbos. So, but Mashenkin over here, the Sheva brachos have to, at Kama it's a chelik of the benching. So it would be like a t'nai in the Sheva brachos that it needs to be a chelik of benching, but sof kol sof it can only be said b'shas simcha. So like there's like the Ritzei, just a haskara of Shabbos, as long as it was it's a chelik. It's being said on a Suda Shabbos. You can still have a Skar Shabbos, but since over here these brachas need to be b'shas simcha, and shas simcha ends by the end of the seventh day. And again, it has to be that simcha miyuchedes of the Chazal Mishayr, that how long the simcha lasts. So once you pass the seventh day, then the simcha is, you don't have that shas simcha anymore. It's a Tanai and Sheva brachas that they need shas simcha.
Even though the right, and we go based on the beginning of the Suda for many other things.
Right, but this is different.
Interesting.
You need shas simcha. That seems to be a lakuli. I don't know if anybody. I didn't see anybody that really that asked to say it anyway, as long as the beginning of the Suda was there. So since everyone agrees with that, so then we have a few different ways how to deal with this problem. So one Talmud Chacham dealt with it by saying it in the middle of the Suda. I've actually seen that before. I saw that once or twice. But many are Ma'ora, that really depends on the Shaila. Anybody that certainly anybody that says that only those who actually ate pas and are benching can say Shabbat Brachos, it's a chelik of Berachos Hamazon, then certainly cannot say it in the middle of the Suda. There's no Berachos Hamazon. It's looking like this is. I'm just seeing there's a clock running over here. It looks like it's. I don't know if this is a bad account or something. It looks like it's going to turn off in 9 minutes. I don't know. So, okay. I hope that's not a thing. We have a lot more than 9 minutes to go. Okay. So it's in one place where Shlomo Zalman writes in Minchas Shlomo, and it's in Simla Gimel and the Ha'ara number 7. You cannot make a bracha b'emtza Suda. He's looking over there. And then there's a tshuva he writes also in the Kobitz called Kerem Shlomo, that he was kaveh over there la halacha that only someone who's chayav and benching could say Shabbat brachas. Even though the Shabbat told him he can make a bracha, but I guess he took on. But he said that they're no way to do it. Some people are no way to do it, even though they're not chayav themselves in Shabbat brachas. It's not a bracha l'vatela because it's because of the din of arvus. Since everyone's mechuyev in those brachas, whoever says it can be chayav, even though he's not chayav himself. He decided he's not benching now. Like this, if after benching, but he didn't eat pas. So you can still make a bracha mitzad arvus, which there are those that ask on that arvus can only apply by people that are in a bakim, and they need you to make it for them. But if everyone could make the bracha themselves, why would you give someone who's not chayiv in the bracha who didn't arvus? So that's a kasha. In Shmir Shabbos Kilchasa, it's in Perek Nun Tes Ha'ara Ayin Gimel B'Shem Rishon Zalman. So there he brings down the shaila if you can be makdim and say the Shabbat brachos in the middle of the Suda, and he remains with Sarach Iyun. Like he doesn't really resolve it there. But in the tshuva he says you should not do it. So if that comes up, that's not really such a good eitzah. It's better to just bench right away. If you want to say Shabbat brachos, bench, say the Shabbat brachos, and then have if there's any time left to eat anything or whatever, to say Divrei Torah, do it then. But if you want to be Marviach Shabbat brachos, not to do it in the middle of the Suda. That's what Rosh Hashanah takes on. Okay. Next point.
You would have either way.
Sorry?
You would have Sefek B'Chakel either way. So if you say it's part of the benching,
It's not clear. I hear you clearly.
if it's part of the
Got a bad connection. Sorry. Bad connection. You can ask me afterwards. Okay.
Is there anybody that holds that it's mutter, that holds Shas Simcha? We saw like the Brisker Rav, the Tribiner, and Shlomo Zalman all paskin that it's a chelik of the benching. So like, is there anybody that holds the other way?
Yeah, I mean, the Sifas Achrayim brings down that there was. He didn't say who it is. Chacham Echad did it in the middle. He held out that way. That there's the whole raid about. That's the whole raid. So it really just depends on how you learn in this Kakira. Maybe the Tribiner held that you could do it in the middle. Or maybe you could say, I mean, the third possibility is that once that Tzibur is making it mitzad b'chas hamazon, so then others can maybe join as long as they had some ishtatkos. But so the fact that there's a minig to make it, even though who didn't bench, is not a raya you could hold. You could do it in the middle necessarily. it's possible, but it's not a raya, right? If it's not totally in you benching, but maybe it's totally in there being a benching. Maybe there needs the seaboard. There's at least a road seaboard that's benching. I don't know the raya to say this, but I'm just saying that's why it wouldn't be a raya from that what the Shavina told the Shlomo Zalman you could make it, that you could do it in the middle also. It might be totally in that fakir also. If it is totally, then yeah, but maybe not. Okay. I don't know if JR is still on or not. Because it's telling me that we only have 5 minutes left on this meeting, which is a problem.
We could just end the meeting and restart it, and we'll get another 40 minutes.
Okay.
Another option if you want.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I don't think we need another 40 minutes, but we have. Here's a question. We would say Sefer Brachos Lahakel. I lost it.
Hey, Rabbi, did you say that the call is going to expire?
It says remaining meeting time 4 minutes, 4:41.
It's very odd because it's the OU's profile and it shouldn't be like that. If it's going to end, the shaila is can we all just restart it quickly? Which I can do, or yeah, I don't know. It's never been like that. It's usually an open account, like a regular full paid account.
Someone didn't pay their bill.
We can definitely restart it. I've done that before. It gives you a brand new 40 minutes.
Okay. So does Rebbe want to just finish right to the end and then I'll just restart it? Or do you want me to just should everybody hear?
We just got the end of an Indian, so let's just start it now.
There. Let me just so everybody should log off and send it.
You'll send the new link in the WhatsApp?
Yeah, I'll do it right now. Yeah, right now.
Okay.
Thank
you.
1 minute.